Ben's back.
Penny's back.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another book video with your two favorite book nerds, Amy
and Kelly.
Today we're talking about our July reading. I was trying to say it cool, like July. Name that movie.
Sorry, I'm hot already, and I have no time for humor.
Okay, so you can kick us off. I started last time, I think.
Okay, so I read 5 books in July, right?
Yeah, that's the month we're talking about.
July. So I finished our June book club book in July, which is The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro. I think if I remember it, I gave it 2 stars. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. And then for our Summerween reading project that we never really got off the ground, I read 2 of the 3 books I had planned. One is Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, which is the second book in the Locked Tomb series. And I read Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. And then I read A Psalm for the Wild Built. Hi. Quit sticking your butt in the camera.
It's very unladylike.
Yes. A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, who is kind of better known for the Murderbot series. And then I also read Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. And I gave Psalm for the Wild Built 5 stars. I gave Age of Myth 4 stars. I gave Harrow the Ninth 4 stars. And I gave Tress of the Emerald Sea 5. She just bit me.
Penny!
I gave her 5 stars too, so my average stars was 4 stars for the month.
Chill.
What? Come here. Get out of here. Feisty girl. Dang.
Have you read the Murderbot series?
I have not. It's on my TBR, but I have not read it yet.
I know 2 of my friends have read it, one just recently, and they love them.
I loved Psalm for the Wild Built, so I'm thinking that, yeah, I probably will.
Sweet. Okay.
You are determined tonight.
So I read 3 books in July. I also read our June book club book, which I gave 1 star. Did not like it at all. I read A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, and I gave this one 3 stars. And then I read My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones, and I gave this one 4 stars.
Oh.
Yeah, so that gave me an average of 2.7 stars for July.
Ew.
Not so nice.
Not so nice. I guess I didn't say pages even. I read
yeah.
total of 1,725 pages for an average of 345.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I read 1,011 pages for an average of 337. And my longest book was My Heart is a Chainsaw, and the shortest book was The Haunting of Alejandra.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Wow, no brain power tonight. My longest book was Harrow the Ninth at 525, and my shortest was A Psalm for the Wild Built, which was 150. Genres. I had 1 horror, 2 fantasy, and 2 science fiction fantasy mashups that I think are a little more on the sci-fi side, but still, they have both. The cat.
The cat.
Look at the face. Look at those eyes.
Look at she's just. If you tell me not to provoke her and you're over here trying to play with her.
It's all for the camera.
Yeah. She's not having it now.
No, she's not having it.
She's like, I will not let you incriminate me on camera.
She's like, I'm a sweet girl. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like you guys
People
are
can
crazy.
all see what a sweet girl I am.
My genres, I had 1 thriller and 2 horror.
Authors. So, let's see. 2 were repeats, Brandon Sanderson and Tamsin Muir, and 3 were new, which would be Becky Chambers, Michael J. Sullivan, and V. Castro. And I will read all of them again except for V. Castro.
I had 1 that I've read from before, which was Stephen Graham Jones, and then 2 that were new to me, including V. Castro and Stacey Willingham, and I will read from all again except for V. Castro.
Mm-hmm.
No surprise there.
Yeah, no thank you there.
No, she done us dirty.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
trusted her with our book club pick. Let us down hard.
Oy, 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 oy.
All right, let's get into these
Let's
books.
get into it quickly.
Yep.
So I'm not going to talk about The Haunting of Alejandra. I did not like it. It wasn't much of a ghost story. It wasn't much of a... I guess the parts that were the ghost story were good.
They were, yeah.
Sort of.
They were
But
good.
the rest of it,
Good
it's just
enough.
bad structure. You can go watch that whole video. Okay, so the next one I can't really talk a lot about is Harrow the Ninth, because this is the sequel to Gideon the Ninth. And I absolutely cannot tell you anything about this story without spoiling the first book. And I really can't tell you much about this story anyway, because it was so stinking... What do you want? Go. Well, lay down then. Because it was so confusing. I don't know what this cat wants from me right now.
I don't think she knows. She just wants to be feisty.
Okay, just bite me.
She
That's
just
fine.
wants to pick a fight.
So when I read Gideon the Ninth, I remember thinking, I have absolutely no idea what's going on in this book. Because Tamsin Muir's style of world building is literally drop you into it with no explanation. You are reading it as a reader like you are a character in that world, and you already know everything. And so you're having to figure it out through context. So that I was expecting. But at least I knew in the first book that it was a competition. It was kind of academia. It was a locked door murder mystery. There was magic and science fiction. I knew the elements and I could follow a plot. I don't even know what this was. And I still gave it 4 stars. Because I still loved the writing and the magic was still really cool. So in the first book, Harrow and Gideon basically travel from their home world to this central place. I can't even describe it without being too long. But the point is that their system, their society is ruled by a undying king, a man who's basically been alive for 10,000 years. None of that's explained. But he has these kind of soldiers for him that are called lectors. And every so often he gathers a representative from each of the 9 worlds to kind of compete to become a lector. And so that's what they're going to do, and it turns into a locked door mystery. There's horror involved, all of that going on. So this book continues. Harrow is now a lector, and it continues on with her story. You can obviously see where she's having a mental breakdown, because there's things that she's relating in this book that did not happen in the first book, or did not happen that way in the first book. So she's obviously dealing with some PTSD, but it's really a book about feeling her way into with the other lectors, trying to become a lector, and how something in the process of her becoming a lector didn't go right, and you don't know what that is, and she doesn't know what that is, and so there's a lot of fumbling around. And even by the end of the book, I really don't know. I don't. But I loved it, still. So I think before I read the next book, I'm going to go back and read Gideon again, and this book again, to see if I can't pick some other things up. Figure it out. I don't know. Chest of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This was one of his special projects last year that he did the Kickstarter for. This was the first one that came out, and oh my gosh, I love this book. It is so charming. Tress is a girl that lives on this island called the Rock, and there's not much there, and surrounding her island is this emerald sea, which is not water at all, but it's a sea of spores. And whenever actual water hits these spores, they like erupt into vines and trees, and they can like shoot right through you and kill you. Anyway, Tress has a very good friend who is the Duke of the island. It's his son, and all of a sudden the Duke announces that they need to go, Charlie, and he needs to go and find a wife and get married, and whisks him off. And Tress is exchanging letters with him, but come to find out when the letters stop, she finds out that the black sorceress has taken Charlie hostage, and the king won't pay ransom to get him back. So Tress decides she's gonna go, and she's going to leave her island where she's never stepped foot off of and go. So the world building is, of course, incredible. The plotting is good, as Brandon Sanderson always does. But Tress herself, she's so nice and she's so kind, but yet she does the hard things that she has to do, and just kind of sticks with her goals and her little quest. And along the way, she saves a ship full of pirates and meets a dragon and sails other color seas. Like, the Emerald Sea isn't the only one. There's also red spores and blue spores, and she learns how to I mean, it's just so good. It's just so good. But the character work in here is really neat. At first, I thought the ending was going to be a letdown quite a bit. But then, of course, I apparently forgot I was reading Brandon Sanderson, and he pulled it out in the end. So really, really, really like this book. Okay, so the two books I do not have copies of. First is Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. It is a high fantasy book that, I don't know, it's a high fantasy. So Michael J. Sullivan, I think, is most known for his Raya series. And this apparently is...
His what?
Raya.
Sounds like you saying diarrhea.
No, Raya. Series. But this set of books is actually kind of the origin story of the first books.
Gotcha.
So from what I understand, these books are set like 1,000 years or so before the Raya books. I have not read any of those. When I decided I was going to go in chronological world order through all of these. So in this book you have 5 different kinds of peoples that live in this world. So it's really kind of Tolkien-esque. Like, you have the humans, and you have the Frey, which are elf-like creatures. You have, I think it's the Durg, which sound a lot like they're dwarves. Anyway, you get the picture. So in this particular book, the humans view the Frey as like gods, because they're so long-lived and they can do, magic and all these things. So they could consider them gods. And so one day, Wraith and his father cross this Burn River, which they are not supposed to do, into Frey lands, thinking that they're going to settle there. That just the two of them, nobody will notice. Well, of course, they come across a group of Frey and there's a confrontation, and the Frey kills Wraith's father, and then Wraith ends up killing the Frey. So, as we find out, the instigating thing here is that gods can be killed. And so after that, it kind of really starts to delve into the societies. Like, you get to see where kind of the Frey's homelands and the people in that, including their king, and there's some political maneuvering going on in there. And then you get into the human societies as well. You don't really see anything of the other peoples, but so that's it. And of course, the Frey are out to find the god killer, and so you get into kind of the political maneuverings of the Frey kind of spill over into the human lands as they're kind of trying to hunt this guy down. And then this village is just trying to like survive to not be annihilated. And at the same time, you have this mystic who's coming up with all these prophecies that is happening, and they have to go off into the woods and do all kinds of things. So it's kind of your typical high fantasy. It's really good though, and it's really well written. I enjoyed it a lot. I did give it 4 stars. I really liked it a lot, but it didn't just wow me to no end. And so, I don't know, there's like 6 books in this first set, so.
Are you going to continue with it?
Yep, I am. I already have the second book bought, so, yeah. So, it's one of those books, like I always talk about Richard Swann's books, Justice of Kings. Like, it's the whole world you're getting. So you're following like 5 different perspectives, and you're getting all of these different worlds and all of these different viewpoints, and they hold different places in society and all of that. So
that's a lot.
It is a lot, but, you know, it's really interesting. But it's probably why it was, you know, dang near 500 pages, too, so. So the last book that I read was A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers, which is the first robot and monk book. And it was so good. It was, I mean, I guess you'd have to call it cozy sci-fi, really. But yet, there was just parts that it just didn't really feel like, there was parts that just really hit deep. It wasn't a surface level, just fun, cozy read. There was definitely things that made you feel really comforted and cozy, but then there was others that just really made you think and kind of process things. So in this book, sibling Dex, so not brother or sister, he's a monk. They are a monk, gender neutral monk. So instead of calling him brother or sister, it's sibling. So sibling Dex lives in the city, and he does gardening. In the city they have rooftop gardens. So he does gardening, but he just really feels like the city is closing in on him, and he really wants to just get out. And he decides to change. They decide to change their vocation. So they decide to become a tea monk and a traveling tea monk. So in their order, there's 5 different gods in this world, but the order of sibling Dex is one of the things that they do is they have tea shops. And so in everybody's like really busy lives and such, they go to tea shops where the monk there will listen to them, and based on what they were saying, what's stressing them out, what's giving them problems, will do a custom tea blend. And then they just give them a hot cup of tea, and they go sit down and they relax and just get comfort. So in a traveling way, sibling Dex gets this wagon. It's kind of an electric bicycle kind of thing with a wagon on the back.
Nice.
And he just travels. They travel around, stopping at places, and he sets up shop, and that's what he does. They do. That's what they, sorry, I keep messing up. What they do. So in this particular world, it's called Panga, and it's a moon surrounding a planet. And there was they call it the factory age. And that was at the point where, you know, there's factories, there's all this automation, and they were finding that machines were taking all the work away, and it was having a detrimental effect on the human society. And right about the time that this realization comes along for the humans, the machines become sentient and they're cognizant. So they have this big thing where the humans basically asked the robots, what do you want? And the robots decided they were going to go off into the woods and, like, never see him again. So it's kind of an interesting that it's the machinery that went off.
Yeah.
So in the wake of that, the humans decided to kind of start protecting their environment. And so half of this world was devoted to the humans and their habitation, whether it be the cities or these little outlying towns with kind of wilderness between them. And then the rest is left to go wild. And where the wild is, that's where the robots went. And basically kind of their parting gift was, you will never see us, we will never, you know, we're done. Yeah, we're out of here. So anyway, sibling Dex is traveling around. He's very good. They call him the world's best traveling tea monk. But it's still just not enough for him. He still just feels this need to do something else. Like, what is his purpose? And so he decides that he needs to go into the wild. And he had read about this abandoned hermitage that was on the top of a mountain, and he just wanted to travel there, and he thought if he could get there, then he could figure it out. So that is where he goes. And as he gets into the wild, one of his first nights there in the wild, out of the woods comes this robot whose name is Mosscap. And the robots have had a great big meeting, conference, and they decided they want to check up on humans and see how they're doing since the robots left. And Mosscap agreed to be kind of the liaison And so he was going out in the world for one question for humans to answer, and that is, what do humans need? So that is the premise of the book. But again, it's just all of these kind of dynamics of sibling Dex trying to figure out what they want and who they are, and what is missing, why they feel like something's missing from their lives. And also, then you have Mosscap. And so Mosscap coming out with this question, what do humans need, when it seems like that's what sibling Dex is dealing with. So there's a lot of like philosophy going on in here, a lot of questioning like human nature and what is our purpose, and do we have to have a purpose, and kind of all of that kind of stuff. So there were a couple of times that I actually teared up reading this book, where things just really hit hard. And then there was times that I was laughing because, Mosscap being not human and a machine without the emotions or, kind of all the hang-ups, would just say something like, what? And it would be really funny. So, and there was just some really sweet moments too. So, and the world that she built in less than 150 pages was just amazing. It was really good. So it just kind of makes you think that if we tried, for, conservation and protecting our environment, she presented a possibility of the way it could look. So I just thought it was really good, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and there's a second one out, so I'm going to read it too.
Nice.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, my book. So like I said, I'm not going to talk about that one either. Go watch our live. The other, I guess so sorry. Another book I read in July was Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This book is, I'm going to have to refer to my notes because I don't remember anything. So in this book, there's this girl named Chloe, and when she was 12 years old, there were these 6 teenage girls that went missing, and her dad ended up being taken away to prison because he was accused of being the serial killer of these 6 girls. And now, 20 years later, teenage girls start to go missing again, and they all appear to be connected to Chloe somehow, so the police start to think that either she's doing it, like following her father's footsteps, or there's a copycat or something like that. So she kind of takes it upon herself to try and unmask the killer and clear her name and all of that stuff, because she feels like it's her fault that these girls are now going missing, since her dad was the one that supposedly started it all. Overall, it's sounds like a great premise, and serial killers and thrillers and all of that, that's my jam. Okay, overall the book was slow, and very predictable, which was very sad. There wasn't really a whole lot that happened for 3/4 of the book, which, sad day. And I also wasn't a huge fan of the main character of Chloe, because she was just not a very reliable narrator. Like, she was always having to be drugged up or talking about needing drugs and all of these things, and she made a lot of stupid decisions that was really, what the heck is even going on? What are you thinking right now? But unfortunately that seems to be how the genre typically portrays their female main characters.
Yeah, usually. Yeah. The troubled woman.
Yeah. It was so bad. And then I also just, found this book to be pretty forgettable. It reminded me a lot of What Lies in the Woods by, I think, Kate Alice Marshall, which I really like that book. So I went back and looked, because I'm like, okay, did this book copy What Lies in the Woods? And this one came out before that one. So What Lies in the Woods might have actually copied this one, but I think it was done better, quite frankly. But yeah, I don't know. It was okay. Not a favorite, that's for sure. Definitely could have been done a lot better. And then we have My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I was really excited to read this one because it's Stephen Graham Jones. Okay, I, for whatever reason, have this obsession with him. Anytime I see one of his books, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to read it and add it to my TBR and whatever. This one is about a slasher fanatic by the name of Jade Daniels, who is convinced that her town is about to be the set of another big slasher massacre. Yes, another, because about 50 years ago there was a huge massacre that happened at Camp Blood. That's the nickname that they gave it because it was such a gory massacre. Wild. I'm here for it, okay? It was great. And so since she believes that her town is about to be this setting for the next slasher, she tries to convince the police and everyone else that this is going to happen and takes it upon herself to try and mold and train a final girl who can actually stop the slasher.
Oh.
I gave this book 4 stars because a good chunk of this book is quite slow. But the chapters in here that were like the slasher 101 chapters and the ones that were her like writing essays to her history teacher and all of that were so freaking good. Okay, for a horror lover like myself, those alone I give 5 stars. Like, they were so good because it was like a love letter to horror and to the slasher genre, because there were so many references to like very popular horror movies and like 80s slasher films, and it's talking about like what it means to be a final girl and the behind the scenes of some of the movies and like all of these things, and I'm like, I'm loving this. It's everything that I love right now. And it was in those moments that I really felt like I could relate to Jade, which is very important in this book because this is a character-driven story. So if you don't like Jade, you're not going to like this book because it's her the whole way through. But those chapters definitely helped me relate to her even more, and it was just like, oh my gosh, she is getting so excited about being able to talk about slasher movies and horror villains and like all of these things, and I'm just like, I'm right here with you, girl. I'm here with you, okay? And like, she's just like, there's a couple scenes in here where she's like rambling on and on to these people who could care less about horror movies or whatever, and she's just like going on about how great they are and all of these things, and I'm just like, yeah, keep going, and they're just like, shut up, weird girl, and I'm like, no, keep talking. Like, absolutely was great. The book starts out very strong. It doesn't actually involve Jade at all. There's like this other event that happens that like kind of sets you up for what's going to come later in the book, and it was done really well. It was so great. Like, this book started off so strong, and then we go and we read, and it's really slowed down. It's not as good. There's not a whole lot of things happening, and then the ending comes around, and it's like, boom, bam, gore everywhere. Everyone's dying in the most brutal way, and it's like, Jade was right. There's a slasher, and yeah, I don't know. So the ending in the beginning, chef's kiss. The slasher 101, chef's kiss, and the rest you just have to deal with. That's, yeah. That's all I have.
Just checking.
Yeah, I was just checking my notes, make sure that I didn't miss out on anything. There was a part in here that got really dark. So like, trigger warning for sexual abuse and things like that, especially involving family members. Yeah, I had to go back and like reread the section where that was brought up because I'm like, is that what's really happening?
Did I just read what I think I just read? Yeah,
pretty much. I'm like, oh, we're going there. Because it doesn't come straight out and say it right away. It's kind of more like a implication because someone else is talking to them about it, and I'm like, oh, we're going there. Okay. So that was kind of rough. I didn't really appreciate it, but then again, this is Stephen Graham Jones, so I should have known that there was something like this coming, because honestly, in all of his books, there's always some kind of like deep, triggering thing that tends to come out. But anyway, I thought it was pretty good. There is a sequel to this. Don't Fear the Reaper is a sequel to this book. I will be reading it because I need to know what's happening next. But anyway, yeah, not too bad. I feel like that was just a mess and a half, but I don't know.
It was a mess and a half, but our entire day and week has been a mess and a half, so here we are.
Yeah. Anyway, that was our July reading wrap-up. Featuring Penny, special guest.
Yeah.
A positively adorable guest.
Trying to steal the show over here.
Trying, she is.
Miss Feisty.
She's stealing the show, for sure.
Miss Feisty.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about all the books that we read in July. If you did, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, go down below the video and hit that little red subscribe button. Join the Everyday Adventure family where you can see our beautiful faces every Sunday typically. We kind of slacked off in July, but we're going to do better.
We did.
Hopefully.
We did.
It's been rough, man. But anyway, do that. Go and follow us over on Instagram and TikTok. Join channel memberships if you feel so inclined for even more content and all of that fun jazz. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember my outro.
And while you're doing all of that, make sure you check out the rest of Amy's channel because there's a lot more than just book content. You can see shopping hauls and home decor, organization, home renovations, shopping, travel, and kitties at her place too. And then you can, after that, go over and check out her blog where you can where you can see a lot more content like Watch It Wednesdays and Foodie Fridays. So check it all out and become a part of the entire Everyday Adventurer family. Yeah.
And you know, it's spooky season, so there's going to be a lot of Halloween content coming.
It is getting
So
there.
if you are a Halloween lover like myself, then you are in luck, because I got lots of stuff for you guys. But anyway, yeah. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed watching the video, and I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are
The Everyday
Epic.
Epic.
See y'all in the next one.
Bye.